Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry, where, after the drama at the beginning of the week, we are of course immediately back with a premium ship. But if you haven't seen the video, and I'll just make it give you a very quick summary. New rules of engagement. I will not be reviewing premium ships that are in crates or in sonar sweep gambling mechanics, and I will only be using free-to-play mechanics going forward in reviews. And that's if there's a premium review, then it's a ship that's available in the shipyard or by other means to, freely get your hands on. And today we have a ship that is in the shipyard and that I really do have to apologize for. The reason I have to apologize for that is that I should have reviewed the ship a long time ago, because this is the Yukikaze, one of the most famous Japanese destroyers in World War II. Yukikaze was a Kagero class destroyer, and she has participated in pretty much most of the big naval battles, starting out with Guadalcanal, where she was an escort for the battleship Haida on the attack run against Henderson Airfield. And in the middle of the night, in stormy weather, they did run into a whole smattering of American ships. She managed to sink a Benson-class, a Mahan-class, and a Benham-class American destroyer, one with torpedoes, two with guns, and came out pretty much unscathed from the whole ordeal. After that, she was part of Admiral Kurita's center force when they were attacking the American landings in the Philippines. And in the Battle of Samar, she was escorting Yamato during the attack on Taffy 3's escort carriers. She is, at this point, most notable, probably in my opinion, for stopping by the sinking USS Johnston in order for the captain and the crew to stand on the side of the deck and pay their respects to a very, very brave American destroyer. After that, she was part of various operations, including Operation 10 Go, where she escorted the Yamato in her final suicidal sortie Banzai attack. And the whole group came under air attack. Most of the escorting destroyers were sunk, and the Yamato herself as well. But Yukikaze didn't get damaged. And this is a theme that's been pushed through her whole career. She never took a torpedo hit, a direct bomb hit, or a naval shell hit from anything, despite having been in some of the most brutal and dangerous naval battles of the Pacific War. In the end, she was interned in Japan, and because of the absolute lack of fuel, was a stationary target in harbor during an American air attack, which completely failed to score any hits on her. She did take minor strafing damage a couple of times, but that was about it. So after the war, she was handed over to the victorious Allies. She was stripped of her guns and then sent to the Republic of China, not the People's Republic of China, as war reparation, where she still served until the 1960s before being eventually scrapped. She is obviously known as the Unsinkable Destroyer, and a ship of quite considerable fame. But that's not the only reason I have to apologize for not reviewing the ship earlier, because the reason I haven't reviewed it earlier, so you didn't know what was coming when you probably spent your shipyard resources on getting one. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look at some statistics, shall we? Yukikaze obviously being a Kagero class, so let's see what they have done in comparison to the Kagero. Tier 8 Japanese torpedo boat destroyers here. Yukikaze gets an engine boost, but it's worse than the Kagero. She does get fuel smokes, so we get 3 fuel smokes, and she does get a sonar, 2 charges of, which the Kagero obviously doesn't have, and she only gets 1 regular smoke. The Kagero is a stealth, if you're not familiar with the Japanese line, is a stealth torpedo boat. The main idea on the Kagero is that you sail around mostly undetected and drop your torpedoes on unsuspecting enemy targets. The Yukikaze is missing a few hit points in comparison to the Kagero, and she is marginally more maneuverable, but it really is very minor. The max speed is about the same, only that the engine boost is not as good. The guns are completely identical to the Kagero. Remember, the Kagero is a torpedo boat. They are not meant to be gunboats. They are mostly meant to be stealthy and using their torpedoes on target. So let's look at the torpedoes. And the torpedoes are crap. We get an extra 7-second reload for torpedoes that are in all aspects distinctly worse than the Kageros. So we have almost 900 points less alpha damage. We've got over 1 kilometer less range on these torpedoes. They're slower, and the flooding chance is significantly lower. She's got worse AA than the Kagero, which honestly doesn't matter that much, but it just adds insult to injury. The only thing really that she has over the Kagero is that she gets very slightly better surface detection. Now, a lot of people have mentioned to me, Terry, this is kind of a hybrid British-Japanese destroyer, which, well, you know, why not? I don't see any good reason for it, other than the loadout. So let's compare to the Lightning then, shall we? Obviously, the Lightning gets only a fuel smoke 1, but she gets an extra charge of it. The Lightning does not get the engine boost, but the Lightning has single fire torpedoes. The Lightning also has more hit points. The Lightning is better in terms of maneuverability, I would say, while the turn time is not quite as good. Once you have the rudder over, she is turning better, and she is better on the engine and faster in the top speed. The guns are better. Well, the damage isn't, but they have better range. And if you are supposed to be using on a sort of all-round destroyer, if you're supposed to be using the guns, range is extremely important. The torpedoes are better. Well, the range isn't, the damage is less, the speed is less, and the flooding is less, but they reload a whopping 20 seconds faster than on the Yukikaze. So if you take that into account, the torpedoes on the Lightning are for all intents and purposes better than on the Yukikaze. The AA, oh well, it is what it is, and the concealment isn't quite as good. So yeah, I am entirely sorry to tell you that the Yukikaze is a premium Kagero that's worse in all aspects. That's worse in 90% of all aspects than the actual Kagero. I am going to play 2 games just to show you what you can kind of try and do in the Yukikaze. I am going to, like I said, not be fully loading the ship, but we're going to put the Seaborne Assault camo on, and let's have a brief look at the battle honors just to see what you get for your expense of materials. So you get 4 steel. It's basically free. It's free resources. That's what happens on premiums. The battle honors are just there on paper to give you some free resources, pretty much. You get the choice between additional torpedo damage and flooding chance, which still doesn't make the torpedoes as good as the Kageros. So instead, the advanced engine, I think, is your better bet here, with 5% max speed and 10% acceleration, because the acceleration is not great on these ships. Then, equipment-wise, there's not a huge choice. In slot 1, you could argue to use Torpedo Mod 2 for a slightly faster torpedo reload, but it also means that your torpedo tubes are a lot easier to shoot off. And I generally find that 5% is not going to make a massive difference. I mean, we're talking about, 3-second faster reload or something there. It's not going to give you an extra salvo per game, only it gets your torpedoes maybe ready a little bit earlier. So instead, I'm opting for the main battery mod 1, because oftentimes your guns are really your only chance to make anything happen, because of also the relatively short range of the torpedoes and the fuel smokes meaning that this ship sort of leans towards a more aggressive playstyle than the pure stealth torpedo boat on the Kagero. Slot 2, obviously propulsion, and slot 3, concealment. So with that, we have the values as follows. We've got 12 degrees turret traverse, and we do have a 7.4 second time to full speed, which isn't bad, and an almost 36 knots max speed before we hit the engine boost, which is not as good as on the Kagero, but it's workable. Yeah, torpedoes are crap, and the concealment we've got down to just a smidgen over 5 kilometers. Given that it's a tier 8 ship, I've put a level 8 commander in it. I am in destroyers at this point, leaning more towards the emergency response in 1, and you could take battlefield support in 2 for an extra sonar. Alternatively, you can also get the armament repair expert. If you get your torpedoes shot off, you get them repaired more quickly. Both are valid choices. After testing, I would probably lean towards getting an extra sonar, especially if you're planning to play aggressively. Having a third sonar is quite a good choice there. Obvious preheating in 3, and victorious charge in 4, daredevil in 5. And actually the recon skill in 6 to make maximum use of the available sonars, and then fully prepared. And the Mistweaver is not going to give you a massive amount of extended duration of your fuel smoke, but it reduces the cooldown, which is sort of the most important factor here. As for camouflages, the historical camo, and I don't recommend you pay money for these things, but I'm just saying that if you happen to get it, or if you, at the end of the day, decide that that's what you want to do, it extends the torpedo range and speed. So it sort of makes up a little bit for the shortcomings that the ship has, and it increases the max traverse and surface detection even further. So it's a good camo. It's a good camo to have, but if we were to apply this, it still would make it as good as the Kagero. That's what I'm saying. Because even with these boosts, the torpedoes are still worse than the Kageros. All right, so we'll play 2 rounds in this setup, and I'll just give you a bit of a practical insight in what that looks like if you are playing the Yukikaze. The first round is a carrier battle, and we are facing an Indomitable, the carrier that even I can play. Cross of Dorn, which is an Odin, I believe, Roma, a Freddy, and a Spanish cruiser, Cleveland, and a Gustav Julius Merker. It's domination on crash zone. So what can I tell from this starting screen? I can tell that I can outspot everything. Unfortunately, that's a carrier battle. So the only destroyer I'm going to have to contend with is the Merker. And the Merker is a German alternative line destroyer. However, the armor piercing on that thing has a lot of penetration, but I still would not want to get into a gun battle with that thing, simply because I am not in a gunboat destroyer. I am going to engine boost out of here towards C-Cap, because this is an Indomitable. And Indomitables, like I said, tend to be noob carriers. And I'm not accusing the player here of anything, but I'm assuming that he's probably going to go down straight in the middle. And hopefully just go for the enemy carrier and leave me to be not air spotted. One can hope. So far it looks like I might be relatively successful there. They're going after the Admiral Schröder, which makes sense. Also, he's sending all 3 squadrons itself. Unfortunately, by diverting to the Schröder, on the return leg, the dive bombers have spotted me. So the enemy team knows that I'm coming, which means I am going to have to, and yes, I've run into the Gustav Julius Merker, who knows that I'm here. So there are torpedoes in the water, and there is one of the cruisers opening up at me as well. So a sonar up, I'm not firing, so I don't get spotted, and I'm going to get behind the island. The Merker's torpedoes are very slow, so there should not be a huge, they shouldn't be a huge danger. There they come. They're more like sea mines. So I'm going to try and do a stealth torpedo drop on the Cross of Dawn over there, and it looks like he might be slightly accelerating. So we'll send him a little bit ahead of the enemy ship, and then I'm going to be turning around. And of course, I'm air spotted again, which is relatively unfortunate. There is the Ignacio Allende, and that thing is dangerous. And yes, he's of course immediately shooting at me, including the America as well. We've landed 1 torpedo hit, and against all odds 2 torpedo hits. And against all odds, we've got a flood, but the Merca smokes up. I'm using the fuel smoke to get the heck out of here, because again, I am not getting into a gun duel with the Merca. Now in the Lightning, my torpedoes would be already ready again, but they're not. And I am spotted because I've just fired at the Merca, and the carrier is focusing here, so I've got to wiggle the ship and get the heck out of here. And yeah, the Merca, if he can land his AP at range, is actually way more dangerous than close up. The problem is I can't engage him close up because there's a Spanish cruiser right next to him, and that thing is definitely after me. So I'm gonna get undetected again, and then we'll try to sneak around and see if we can get the capture circle back. The enemy team is 2 ships down at this point, so we do have a bit of an advantage here. Can I torpedo the Allende? No, not really. So unfortunately, I am being now fighter spotted, because the enemy carrier has been baiting the friendly fighters out. So so that Indomitable knows what he's doing. Alright, so I'm going to fuel smoke up, avoid the problem from the Merca, drop torpedoes on the Cross of Dawn again, and then make my way out of here. I don't think the carrier had time to lock onto me, because they're only dive bombers, so you can't blind fire me. And I'm going to retake the capture circle and then get into a gun duel with the Merca, which is not something I generally relish, especially not if I'm on half health. But, well, I don't really have anything better to do over here. It looks like my torpedoes against the Cross of Dawn have missed. So we're going to be opening up at the Merca, and we're just going to try and dodge his incoming fire. If I can even just, at this range, if I can even just bait his shell into my bow section, then that would work. Unfortunately, the Merca knows that as well, and knows exactly where to target me. So if he can hit me in the center section and do full penetrations, these guns do an enormous amount of damage. So no, gun duel with the Merca is not happening. I'm going to tuck in behind the island. Merca is trying to shoot me, but at least we're holding the capture circle and we're having the points income. And we are still 2 kills ahead, despite the fact that we've just lost the Schröder, because the Seven Provincian has taken out the enemy Roma. And that just means we have to deal with the Merca. Now, is he staying in his smoke screen? It's not a fuel smoke, and he knows what he's doing. So I'm going to drop some torpedoes, and of course I am spotted again. There's the enemy Indomitable, and yeah, the Merca knows what he's doing. He is not staying in his smoke screen. He's been accelerating out because I have been spotted, and fuel smoke up and then get the heck out of here. At least the battleship on the other side is helping against the Merca, despite the fact that he's coming under concentrated air attack by the Indomitable. So Merca has taken some brutal hits there from the battleship, which makes us relatively equal on hit points. But the Richelieu has taken out the Merca. Well played by the Merca there, and that leaves us with the enemy carrier. So I have expended my sonars, I have expended my engine boosts, and I have expended my fuel smokes, and I have expended all my 3 heals for a grand total points of damage of 16,000. Yeah, that's been... Oh, the Cross of Dawn's still out there. Okay, not for long. Richelieu has taken out the Indomitable, and there comes the Cross of Dawn. That has been the grand total of this battle. Now, I wouldn't say that I have done anything. We have contested and successfully defended the capture circle for most of the game, and that's worth something under consistent air attack. So you could argue that, well, you haven't done an awful lot of damage, but you've done some good, and maybe this was just a fluke. So why don't we go and try it again? So before we do that, I'm going to have a very quick look at the depressing team list and see if anybody managed to come in below me performance-wise. Yes, the Amagi and the Admiral Schröder managed to do worse than I did. So, arguing that maybe this was just a fluke. Maybe in a more normal battle, when you're not perma-air spotted, then things will go better. Well then, no carriers in this game. We are facing Massachusetts, Amagi, a Blücher, which I haven't reviewed, but I'm assuming it's some form of hipper, and a Kagero. Unfortunately, in the Colorful Islands map. The Colorful Islands map is broken. The island hitboxes are completely busted, and the color scheme of the map itself, while just being a complete garish eyesore, unfortunately also means that the minimap is basically unusable. So finding out what's where from the minimap is oftentimes almost impossible due to the coloration of many of the islands being so close to red that red enemy ship markers can often be very, very difficult to see on the minimap and the overall color scheme. And yeah, there you already see bots heading straight. I've seen bots sailing straight through islands on this map. So what were we doing? I could head for A. It depends if I'm going to get. There's a lot of cover in A inside the cup circle. So A is a good target, and I don't really have to worry about being spotted at this point. I've got Mogami with me, so we'll see if I'm going to head for A, given that I have some backup, and we'll see who we're going to encounter, and hopefully we get to at least farm some bots, some damage on bots before and can control this capture circle. So that's kind of life goals for this round. Torpedoes widespread for now. There's the bot Gajamada. So he's not going flank. Bots tend to go pretty much straight forward. And when we're going to camp this island here, and okay, there's the enemy Kagero. So the Kagero is the free version of the Yukikaze, and the Kagero is better than I am. Now, not dropping torpedoes yet, just observing what the Kagero is doing. Fuel smoke up, one torpedo out, and yeah, Kagero knows that as well. So he's not coming out there. Or is he? Well, actually he is. Okay, that would have actually probably been worth sending both torpedo spreads out there. I thought that he camped the island and he would be smart enough not to come out from it. But yeah, he has taken one of my torpedoes. He is now using his smoke. That's not a fuel smoke. So, I've got bots coming in. There's a bot Takao. I've got a bot Lebrecht Maas over here. So let's. But we've defended. We haven't taken any damage, and the Kagero has taken significant damage and is on the run pretty much. So A cup is I would say for now secured, especially that I have the cruiser here with me. I think that might have been the Mogami. I think I can leave the Kagero to that and head towards the center where there is a Massachusetts. Unfortunately, the Massachusetts is escorted by the Blücher. I hate it when people get the right idea and know what they're doing. And the Massachusetts, even if it's not escorted, is a relatively dangerous ship. That thing's got a lot of auto secondaries. So I'm immediately going to be using the fuel smoke and observing where is the Massachusetts going. I am gonna have to drop torpedoes here. I'm assuming that he's coming out of the turn because he doesn't seem to be looking at me. But I think he has actually slowed down. So yeah, he has slowed down, so these torpedoes have missed. What they haven't missed is the Blücher, who has turned in behind the Massachusetts. So he just took a full broadside of torpedoes. Unfortunately, now that means the torpedoes are on reload. And that is for a very long time. So in the meantime, and we haven't caused a flood, so there's no sense it's trying to set fire on the Blücher. In the meantime, all I can do here is shadow the Massachusetts and just kind of keep an eye on where things are going. The Massachusetts seems to be stationary, while the Mogami is going in for a suicide run against the Massachusetts, the Blücher, and the Kagero. Blücher has taken down the bot Rook, and we have Massachusetts, to nobody's great surprise, has killed the Mogami, which means we're down to 3 ships. One of them being me, one of them being an AFK cruiser somewhere there, and I'm going to torpedo the Massachusetts, but I'm not sure they're going to get there in time because they are a bit slower than Kagero torps. So I'm going to start shooting at the Massachusetts, and I'm going to try to get him to turn and hopefully slow down so he still runs into my torpedoes. And he does slow down, but I'm going to probably get 1 or 2 torpedoes in. So given that we're 300 points behind, that's an almost full health Massachusetts. There's still a Blücher out there. And most of my team the rest of my team is a bot and an AFK cruiser. Yeah, there's not really an awful lot else I can do here anymore. I haven't taken any damage yet, but we're gonna do what we can against the Massachusetts. Just farm some damage here. There's still the enemy cargo out there as well. There come the cargo torpedoes. Sonar up, but these were relatively obvious. And yeah, that was a big salvo there from the Massachusetts that just hit, and yeah. That is probably going to be it. There comes the Blücher from the other side. No, that's the bot Takao actually firing armor piercing, because yeah, bots are smart now. No, they just load random ammunition, which is actually really dangerous for you. So I'll just some Hail Mary torpedoes out, but Massachusetts takes me out with the main guns. There was no great surprise there. So while we are gently observing, and these torpedoes have missed because the bot has just done a 360 no scope. While we are gently observing the AFK Takao on our team getting kicked to death, Yukikaze. Is this? Yeah, it's not a good ship. So a lot of people have asked me, Terry, can you make a video on the Yukikaze? I don't know how to play it. No, it's not you. It's the ship. It's an in all aspects worse cargo. This ship would need to be down tiered to 7. That would make her probably playable. Other than that, she would need her torpedo reload to be reduced, or at least to get her torpedoes on par with the Kagura's torpedoes. But then, you know, it's basically a black Kagura at that point, just with a different loadout. So and no, I can't recommend the ship, honestly. Don't spend resources on it. If you already have, then yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not getting the review out earlier, and you wouldn't know what came. It's a shame. It's really a Haida situation where you have a ship that existed, a ship that is actually having a huge historical track record, and then gets absolutely donked on in game in terms of its performance capabilities. So this was actually the best game I had in the Yukikaze with 50,000 points of damage, believe it or not. The rest was worse. So no, it's not a good ship. If you get super lucky and you know, enemy derping around, sailing in straight lines, but this is tier 8. Not really something you can rely on anymore. And as such, yeah, it's if you would like to play a torpedo boat destroyer, get a Kaguro. It's better in all regards. If you would like to play a multi-role destroyer with fuel smokes, get a Lightning. It's better at that than a Yukikaze as well. And that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time for more free-to-play stuff.